I'm Donna Kallner. I'm your guide for this exploration of an ancient technique that continues to evolve as contemporary stitchers put their own spin on things.
Looping is a timeless technique with many variations that can keep you entertained for a lifetime, or maybe several lifetimes. There are new ideas to discover, even in a tradition that dates back thousands of years. Even before our ancient ancestors learned to interlace multiple fibers to weave what we think of as baskets, they were probably twisting together lengths of fiber and looping them to make things like bags, nets, snares, garments, and other items. At first glance, it may be difficult to distinguish looping from knitting or crochet, which are much newer techniques. In knitting and crochet, you pull up loop after loop from a long continuous thread, usually rolled into a ball or skein. Looping, on the other hand, is worked with shorter lengths of thread, and you draw the entire length through on each stitch. Now, this makes perfect sense. For thousands of years, people simply spun or corded fiber as they work, adding on as needed. Knitting and crochet are faster, so why take more time to make something? Why has looping survived? Well, for one thing, it's so secure. If you break a thread, it won't unravel. If you tear a hole in looping, it'll hold together well enough to give you time to make a repair. There was a time when the security of a textile structure was important to survival. When you walked many miles in search of food, you wouldn't want to lose it if your carrying bag snagged on the trip home. There are many ways to vary looping to change its appearance, or its elasticity, or its density, or its texture. Looping is extremely versatile, whether your work is traditional or contemporary. But there is a common thread that runs through looping traditions around the globe and throughout time. Looping uses relatively short lengths of fiber, and the entire length of thread is drawn through on each stitch. It was genius of our ancient ancestors to come up with a technique that made such economical use of twine or thread. New Age looping marries this ancient tradition with contemporary fibers that may be commercially prepared, although you can still use your own hand-spun or hand-twisted cordage. But even when you have a large ball or skein or cone or a huge stash of thread, in looping you still work with relatively short lengths and draw the entire length through on each stitch. We don't have to spin on more when a thread runs out. There are other ways to add thread, but you remember how stable this structure is? Adding thread is no big deal. One of the things I love about the stability of this looping structure is you can put it down at any time and it can't unravel. That is great for when you're traveling or running errands. Looping will never slip off the needle. You can't drop stitches. And for times when you expect frequent interruptions, looping is perfect. You don't have to finish a row before you can look up. You won't have lost your place when you pick it up again because you don't need to follow someone else's pattern or conform to someone else's gauge. You can make looping suit your own tastes and materials. With some basic skills, you really can work intuitively with this ancient technique and put your own spin on looping. So let's get started. But remember, this is just scratching the surface of what you can do with New Age looping. You can learn more about looping on my website,